Do you want to start the interview?
I'll start the interview. I think every club has its issues. I think every club has to have issues. When you're dealing with anything that's dealing with the mental side, you want to make sure it involves everyone.
Chiemgau Baskets Podcast.
Welcome back. It's part 4 of our nice interview sessions with Coach A again. Thanks for coming again.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's start right into it. So I have different questions about training today for you because you're the trainer and the coach. So the first question, we have this special skill training within Chiemgau Baskets. Tell us something. What is the difference between the special skill training and the team training? What are the differences?
Well, when you go into skills training, you're talking about the individual's abilities. These are the things that we're trying to focus on in those trainings to make sure that the kids get the full technical things that they need to succeed when they go into a team environment. It's very difficult to teach a young man a high level of team play when his individual skills are very low.
Tell us some things that you can just do in skill training. Are there some things that you just can't do in skill training? Or can you also do all these special things in the team training as well?
You can do them in both, actually. But the problem is when you're dealing with the team, you're dealing with a higher number. When we focus on skill training, we want a maximum of 6 to 8 kids. It gives us a lower number. It gives us more space and more individual time to really break down their skill level. This is the focus of our academy, to make sure that all these kids get the individual training, but yet also the information, because the number one problem for us is getting the kids' IQ level of basketball higher, to make sure that they understand the whys and the do's and the don'ts.
Okay, so what are the skills that makes your IQ higher? Is it something like decision making, for example?
Exactly. Short space work, working in a short space, understanding why this move works in this particular time, when it's needed. Not to overthink it, but to just let it happen naturally. But nothing happens naturally if you don't train it. So we're trying to put the kids in situations of success so that they make short time decisions, 1.5 seconds, compared to having the ball in their hand for 3 to 4 seconds.
Okay, so but is it also things like shooting and footwork and something like that? So,
yes, it's a multiple of things. Footwork is the number one thing in basketball. You have to have quick feet. You have to be able to move laterally as well as work on your vertical leaping. We do jump drills with the kids to help their jumping ability. A lot of shooting. Without shooting, basketball, it doesn't exist. So we do a lot of shooting, a lot of footwork, and most importantly, just the ability to know when and how to use those things.
Hi, bevor es gleich weitergeht, kommt hier noch ein wichtiger Hinweis von mir. Das Studio, in dem wir gerade aufnehmen, ist komplett neu. Und das Beste, du kannst es selber nutzen. Ganz egal, ob für deinen eigenen Podcast, ein Interview oder einfach um deine Geschichte zu erzählen. Also wenn du jemanden kennst, der Aufmerksamkeit braucht oder der was Tolles anbietet, sag's gern weiter. So, und jetzt weiter geht's. Is there a good combination of so-called skill training and team training? Is there a good balance? Because in team training you can train things you cannot train in skill training.
Right, exactly. It varies in the size. You know, in basketball, there's 5 positions that need to be played. So if I have a 2'10" guy doing what a 1'85" guy needs to do, it's a little bit difficult. So we try to make sure that they don't lose their skills and they use them in advancement to advance themselves when it comes to the team play. You're creating chemistry in that atmosphere. The individual skill is not about chemistry. It's about them understanding what they need to do, the technical things of how to use the ball, how to shoot the ball, how to dribble the ball, how to use their feet, why we use our feet in this situation. They need to know those things.
So is there also theory training in skill training? So are there parts that are not just with your body? So just you sit with the kids and talk to them, or
Well, that comes in their team training,
team
because the information I share with one, I have to share with the entire group.
Makes absolutely sense.
It really makes, when you're just trying to share it to one particular person who may receive it, the others are lost. And so you want to make sure that when you're dealing with anything that's dealing with the mental side, you want to make sure it involves everyone.
Okay. So you are a trainer and coach for so many years, but do you prepare the training, and do you, I don't know, in your daily routine, do you have the time to sit down and really think about what to do, or is it just you drive to the training and you have several things in mind? What is the preparation?
Like that.
Now it's like
now
that.
It's like that.
Yeah.
When I first started, it wasn't. I had to prepare everything.
Yeah.
I had to sit down to evaluate my kids. The weakness of one kid may be the strength of another. So I can't give someone who's already strong at something information that I need to give to the guy who's weak at it. So those things, when I was younger, as a young coach, yes, I had to draw it up and write it up and everything. But now I've been in this thing for over 20 years. And being so experienced and playing in all the places that I played in, I read the body language of a player. And the body language tells me how much energy he's got and what I can get out of him on that particular day. The drills, the information, it's there. It's there. It's implanted in me. I was a junkie for the game, through coaching clinics, through playing the game, coaching through camps. I've been in so many places when it comes to this thing, to where I started to understand and really get the information and keep it there. But I do have my books. I have a book that I've written every drill that I've ever done. It's in my bag. It stays with me. It has over about 300 drills in it, and I don't share it. So it's mine. It's through all my years of experience, and I was just that kind of a person where, when it was interesting for me to know, I wrote it down. I wanted to keep it, and so I'm very fortunate to have that.
So what are the possibilities if you want to really improve your own work as a trainer or as a coach? What can you do? So it's the experience for sure, but how can you, I don't know, speed up the process?
Study, ask questions, find coaches who have more experience than you. Some coaches don't have as much experience as me, and I learn from them. There's always something to learn. The problem is, I was always told a great coach never stops learning. I don't want to stop learning. I don't claim that I know it all, but I'm going to work to try to get to it all. And that's what I try to influence young coaches. Ask questions. Don't have the pride that you know it all, and because we all don't.
Let's talk about the differences between training different ages. So I think there are huge differences between training methods between, I don't know, young players and grown-ups.
Well, the first thing is that, when you're dealing with the younger group, you're dealing with the kid who is still under mom and dad's care. So your words, your actions have to reflect of learning and also disciplining, because you have to have a mix of both. Because basketball is one of the most disciplined sports that you are ever going to play. It requires a tremendous amount of discipline to be able to come to training when you're tired, after a long day at work, after a long day at school, leaving your family to do it. It requires a lot. And so at the young age, you want to make sure that they have, first of all, fun. that they're smiling, that they leave every practice with a smile. And then you want to pick 3 directions that you want to teach them. You want to get them the basics, you want to get them the technique, and you want to get the whys to it. So you want to make sure that they understand all those 3 things. Then their next level takes them to the next step. 8 to 10, 8 to 12 years old is a technical time. It's the time that they have to fall in love with the game. They don't watch players, they don't watch teams, they watch the plays. And no one sees the hours, the minutes, the seconds, the months, the years of how to make that play, but they see the plays. And so when they see that play, the first thing they want to do is to go out and try it with no technique, with no balance, no jumping ability, no shooting ability, but I want to try it. And so that's the energy part. Now, how can I build on that energy part? You take that play and you tell them, this is how he does that. This is why he did that. He started at your age doing these drills. He started doing these things technically. And now you see the ending result. So that is the number one thing when it comes to those ages. 13 to 16 is a growth phase. It's the changing phase of a kid. It's when they start to feel their body, they know their body, they physically grow a little bit more. They start to understand the game a little bit more in terms on the individual side, but they don't know it on the team side. 16 to 19 is the biggest phase. It's the biggest change in a kid's life because their maturity comes. Outside interference becomes a big part of training because now you understand relationships. You understand that you have to have family. For our kids, mature. You have all these things, all these different things start to grow in you, and you start to develop your young man process. Because I always like I told you before, I take the kids as children. I try to turn them into boy, then into young man, and then into man. So the process is the same in the coaching. And when they're 18, they start to understand. That's when tactical has to become more important because they got the skill level in the early stages to get to that level. When they become man, it's different. It's just completely different. It's a different world because they have all the information, but now you're playing more on the mental side. If I sat here and talked to you about setting a goal for spread films, the goal didn't say the traffic lights that are going to happen. It doesn't say that there's a pedestrian walk. It doesn't say that there's an old lady who can't drive. She parked her car in the wrong position. You have to go around it. It doesn't say that. No, your goal said spread film. So there's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. There's going to be problems. There's going to be this. There's going to be that. You have to go through those phases to get to spread film goal. And that's what a kid has to do.
Thank you for this great answer. I take it. Last part. So we talked a lot about general things now, and let's go a little bit back to Chiemgau Basket. So do you think that trainers or coaches have special possibilities in Chiemgau Baskets, or do you have in every club the same possibilities?
I think every club has its issues. I think every club has to have issues because like I said earlier, when you set a goal to be at a certain level, there are certain things that are going to happen during the course of the year. You can't sit down and blame the world. You can't sit down and say, okay, I'll quit, because it's not in us to quit. As a coach, it's not in you. Owe it to more than just yourself to show up, to make sure that our kids see that my coach has got my back. If anyone is supporting me, my coach is going to support me. And so that is going to happen in other clubs. Coaching is not an easy field. It's not. It's time consuming. It's a 12-month job. It takes you away from your family. It takes you away from a lot of little things that you would love to do privately. But the one thing I've always gotten out of coaching is to see the faces of my young men when they become men. And they phone me and tell me they're married, they have families, they've succeeded in life, they've had all those things. I feel like I was a part of that, and it just makes me feel good to be able to say I impacted. I didn't just coach, I had an impact. And that's what I want to do in my coaching. And I want to make sure our coaches understand that. Whoever comes into the Chiemgau family has to know that the Chiemgau rule is simple, that we want to be impacted people. We want to make sure that everyone who steps and wears the Chiemgau Baskets uniform is represented by great people who impact lives.
This is just a perfect ending. I have to bring these next questions next time.
Okay.
Thank you so much for this nice interview.
My pleasure.
And see you next time. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks, buddy.
Chiemgau Baskets Podcast.